blind date disaster? Single dad met his late wife's lookalike. What happened next? The moment Matthew Harper lifted his eyes from the trembling glass of water on the restaurant table, the world seemed to tilt and stop at the same time. His breath caught, his chest tightened, and for one terrifying second, grief he had buried for 3 long years clawed its way back to the surface. Standing in front of him was a woman who looked so much like his late wife that his heart reacted before his mind could catch up, and the blind date he had reluctantly agreed to suddenly felt like a cruel test he was never meant to pass. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that can happen when broken hearts keep going, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive. Matthew was a single father living in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio, a man who carried responsibility the way others carried shadows. Since losing his wife, Rebecca, to illness, his life had been reduced to routines built around survival. Mornings were for packing lunches, evenings were for homework and bedtime stories, and nights were for staring at the ceiling, replaying memories he loved and feared all at once. Friends told him it was time to move on, that his 8-year-old son Noah needed to see his father smile again. Against his instincts, Matthew allowed himself to be set up on a blind date, convincing himself it was just dinner and nothing more. The restaurant glowed with soft lights and quiet conversations, but Matthew felt exposed, like a man walking into a memory he had sworn never to revisit. When the woman approached the table, his first instinct was to stand and apologize, to say there had been some mistake. Her name was Hannah Collins, a nurse who had recently moved to Ohio after rebuilding her own life. She had the same warm brown eyes, the same gentle posture, and even the same small scar near her eyebrow that Rebecca once had. The resemblance was not perfect, but it was close enough to shake him to his core. Matthew's struggle was written across his face, and Hannah noticed immediately. She sensed his discomfort, the way his hands trembled and his shoulders stiffened, but she chose patience over judgment. Matthew tried to focus on the present, reminding himself that Hannah was a stranger with her own story, not a ghost sent to test him. Still, every movement brought back memories of hospital rooms, whispered prayers, and the day he had held Rebecca's hand for the last time while promising their son would always be safe. As the evening stretched on, the date felt less like a disaster and more like a quiet reckoning. Matthew found himself opening up in ways he never planned. He spoke about Noah, about the loneliness that followed bedtime when the house fell silent, and about the guilt that came with even sitting across from another woman. Hannah listened without trying to fix anything, her empathy steady and sincere. She carried her own grief, having lost her fiancé years earlier in an accident, and though she never spoke the words aloud, Matthew sensed that she understood the weight of loving someone who was gone but never truly absent. The challenge Matthew faced was not Hannah, but the fear that loving again would erase the past. He wrestled with the belief that moving forward meant leaving Rebecca behind, and that fear had kept him frozen for years. Yet, as the night unfolded, something subtle shifted. Hannah did not try to replace anyone. She did not demand space in his heart. She simply existed as herself, offering understanding without expectation, kindness without pressure. When the date ended, Matthew walked out into the cool Ohio night, feeling lighter and heavier all at once. He was confused, shaken, and unexpectedly hopeful. Back home, Noah was asleep, clutching the worn teddy bear his mother had given him years before. Watching his son breathe peacefully, Matthew realized that healing was not betrayal. It was survival, and maybe even an act of love for the family Rebecca had trusted him to protect. Over the following weeks, Matthew and Hannah met again, slowly and carefully. Their connection grew not from romance, but from honesty. Hannah met Noah at a community park one afternoon, and Matthew watched from a distance as his son laughed freely, unguarded and bright, in a way Matthew had not seen in a long time. Hannah never tried to take Rebecca's place. She respected the past while offering something new, something steady and real. Still, doubt lingered. Matthew had moments where guilt returned, where memories overwhelmed him and he questioned whether he deserved happiness. But Hannah remained patient, understanding that love after loss required time, compassion, and courage. She reminded him through her actions that hearts do not replace love. They expand to hold more. The turning point came one evening when Noah asked Matthew a simple question about why he seemed happier lately. Matthew struggled to answer, but in that moment he understood that his son was watching, learning how to live after pain. Choosing joy was not forgetting. It was honoring the strength it took to keep going. As months passed, Matthew found himself smiling without guilt, laughing without fear, and dreaming again. Hannah became part of their lives not as a replacement, but as a reminder that life continues, even after unimaginable loss. The blind date that began as a disaster had become a doorway to healing, teaching Matthew that sometimes God places familiar faces in our path, not to reopen wounds, but to show us how far we have come. If this story is touching your heart so far, please pause for a moment to comment below and share how you believe kindness and second chances can change lives. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Near the end of this journey, Matthew stood in the same restaurant where it all began, holding Hannah's hand as Noah laughed nearby. The pain had not vanished, but it no longer controlled him. He had learned that love does not end, it transforms, guiding us toward hope in ways we never expect. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you that healing is possible, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps spread stories that remind us we are never alone, even after loss.